I start recording now because we have 6 hours of recording to do. No, I'm joking. We have 6 hours of recording in this SD card. So whatever mistakes we make, racist things we say, let me see, Nazi affiliation stuff. I'm gonna leave this all in, by the way. Everything we say misogynistically and everything like that, we can take out, but I'd rather not. I'll just leave it in because no, I'm joking. So these are this is the podcast. It's weird to have it in your head or not?
It's I have to get used to it, but eventually I think.
Yeah, hearing your own voice is a thing, right?
Yeah. I bought AirPods recently, and there they have a hearing aid function, and you have the same thing. So if you turn on the hearing aid function, you hear your own voice very loud and very clear.
Oh my god, I never... Is that the new AirPod?
Yeah, new AirPods. I can let you try later.
I'm gonna try that shit.
Pretty dope.
Oh, that's amazing stuff. See, I learn something every day. I'm starting to get older, so technology is jumping ahead of me. I'm trying to keep up. And then I'm getting to the point where I'm like, why? I know how to surf the internet, and that's it. That's all I actually need. It's beautiful stuff. But we are here to talk more deeply about more deeper jiu-jitsu related stuff. First thing I want to ask you, because you started mentioning it, and I wanted to ask the whole time. So there's a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask that I've been holding this whole time. How was Malaysia?
Malaysia was awesome. I went there for 19 days to Asia. First time in Asia.
Was it vacation?
Yeah, more or less. I'm just graduated, and this
congratulations, my man.
Thank you. And this is kind of a graduation holiday. Yeah, it was awesome. One of my best friends is Malaysian, and he took me around, like showed me the best places, and that was great, because if you go there as a tourist without any guidance, like you probably end up in the more touristy place. You don't have the good restaurants, and now we went to like back alleys to have great food, and that's a thing I noticed in Asia a lot. The food is like so much more an important part of the culture than it's in the Netherlands. Like we are quite when I'm in the Netherlands, I prepare my bread, put some spread on it, but nothing like this in Asia. Every meal you go out, you have like great combinations, a lot of different flavors, different spices.
There's a kind of a tradition to food over there, and that's something interesting, because I miss that here in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
I miss that there's certain kind of importance to food. By the way, guys, if you hear some stuff in the background, we are at location. We are at United Rotterdam at the Checkmat headquarters. Can I call it Checkmat headquarters? Mm-hmm. So I think this adds to the atmosphere of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Back to food. I love food. You can see it by my size. Shit, I'll stop my day to have some good food, man. You can wake me up for good food. But one of the things, it's like in the Netherlands, it feels more like, okay, this is my ration. This is what I'm going to eat because I have to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And over there, they'll stop their day. Like food has such a deeper meaning.
We are very pragmatic. If I get my calories, if I get my nice division of carbs, proteins, fat, then all good. But
isn't that more also because of you being an athlete, or is that mindset always?
Yeah, I talked with other people about it, and I have friends, of course, that love to cook, but many of my friends, and I might still have a selection bias because I studied econometrics, and there you have all quite rational people that just look at the way as, this is numbers, I need my calories, I need my intake. So even with my friends, there might be a selection bias. But where we eat to live in Asia, it's more the other way around. They live to eat. And that's cool.
That's an amazing thing, man. Did you get to train there, or didn't look it up?
Yeah. I trained in one gym, but training was kind of hard. Could have done it, but we bought mats. So with my friend, he also trains jiu-jitsu. Got him into jiu-jitsu. We could train every day, and that was like still really good.
The more I compare jiu-jitsu to drugs, the more the more it becomes like logical to explain it to people. It's like, guys, you have to try this. It's the best thing ever, and it helps you in so many ways. And sometimes a lot of people can't even explain why it's good to start doing jiu-jitsu. They'll just go with this extraordinary enthusiasm, like they're selling weed. Man, this is the best thing, man. You get some buggy chokes and some, like he said, like that's some crazy ass weed, you know.
I have no experience selling weed, but I can imagine it's like that. Like,
oh my god! If you're into economics and echo, what did you just say? Econometrics, man, you would be amazing to edit. I'm sorry that I'm going to bring you already in the bad path, but if you have a system of rationality and how it works and everything like that, I say all of this because once I had a long conversation in Brazil with a drug dealer, and that was one of the best economists I've ever saw.
Okay.
And it wasn't like the same mindset, like you see this hardcore something. He was a little bit paranoid, but extremely good at economics. But of course, you have to be. You're doing something very illegal, calculating pounds, profits, future sales. You're also dealing with other people. So,
in what way was he good in economics?
Let's say like this: he could project how much he would make out of selling something illegal in Brazil. It's not the worst thing you could do. In like drugs, there is a very big no-no, but in a way, weed is getting more loose in something. But the way that he could sit down and actually write down the projections he would have for the next, and I'm not shitting you, quarter of how much he should get, how much his clients would sell, how much his clients probably would have in money, in the sense of being like what kind of time of the year it was, how much they would need. It's insane. The more that I talked to him, the more he started teaching me about business. And I had that talk at the time because I opened my gym in Brazil and was failing. And after a talk with him and a lot of other people, I started getting on the right path. But one of the things he said, like project what you need. I mean, you're going to buy a product and you owe that person from who you bought, because he got to a point where he bought his own stuff and he started making his own stuff. But there was a point where he was, how do I say that you have to lend it, the drugs, then pay back the drug dealer, the big one, while you sell off the share.
So like he doesn't have to cash himself.
No.
First gets it, then he sells to the customers, then he gets the cash, then he pays back.
Yeah, that's how it kind of works. So in the beginning, that's how drug dealing works. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cauliflower Philosophy, where we do a one-on-one on how to sell drugs.
I have a nice addition to this. There's this book called Narconomics, where they go into the economics of selling drugs and drug cartels, and they go through the whole supply chain. So they go to South America, the countries there, how they get the drugs, the farmers that plant the cacao leaves to bringing it over the border, selling it on the street, and the parallel in the book is basically a big corporate business. There's so many different parts involved. It's such a big supply chain. It's pretty awesome and pretty funny to read that parallel and start thinking about a drug cartel in that way. Like they're just high-level CEOs.
I know. If you think about it purely business-wise, you're going to go like, hey, this is super intelligent.
Yeah.
There's always a market. There's always demand. And the demand is crazy and loves it. And then it's amazing. Sorry that we drove off the wrong path so fast in this conversation.
Let's get back.
This is what a general conversation with us at Cauliflower is in a way. But let's get back. We were in Malaysia and you were trying to train over there. And one of the things is you bought your own mats. Did you buy your own mats over there?
Yeah, my friend Wayne, he bought the mats. Like you can buy everything very cheap there. So we bought for $50. We bought like a good amount of mats, so we had enough space to train, to drill, and then every morning we would get some drilling in, and still could keep up a bit.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's a work ethic.
Otherwise, I would probably go crazy for 3 weeks without jiu-jitsu. So.
Yeah, because on one point I would say, and this is not a critique, but at one point I would say this is amazing work ethic, but it has become a necessity in a way to kind of have this flow. And if we would think about it, what does this necessity mean? I mean, is it a necessity because you have to expend energy, or do you feel also like if I don't train I will fall behind?
I think it's a bit of both. So partially, of course, as a competitor, you want to stay in front of people, and you want to keep up with other people and keep improving so that you don't suck at your next competition. But at the same time, like in the long run, it doesn't really matter if you miss 1 week of training. If you are in this game for 10, 15 years, then this 1 week of training is less than 1%. So the other part is also just a part of your life. It's a part of your lifestyle, a way to release your energy, your creativity. So yeah, and that's, I think, both parts. And one other part is probably that you have a routine which you want to stick to. And for me, if I try to create a routine, it's important that I keep up that routine every day, because at the moment I notice with jiu-jitsu it's non-negotiable. I want to do jiu-jitsu, but with other things I might start a good habit like yoga in the morning, and at the moment I do that for a few weeks in a row, perfect, and then for 1 week I can do it. It's very hard for me to get back into the routine of doing yoga in the morning, and then that's also in my mind, okay, if I just want to keep doing it, I have to keep up my routine, just non-negotiable.
That's an amazing way to think about it. It is true. It's such a bitch of a sport in a way that, let's say it like this, I was never able to correctly create routines in my life. In a way that it's like, for me, the routines have never been... if I like doing something, I will do it the whole time. And that's how I got into this. And if I enjoy doing something, there is time kind of appears to do it, you know? So if I would ever plan to do yoga in the mornings, it will take exactly 3 or 5 days, and then I would never do it again ever. But if I go to... this was a period when I went to this hot sauna yoga. You know, what's it called?
Bikram yoga.
Oh my God, that is...
But now it's not Bikram anymore, because Bikram is apparently a rapist, so they call it hot yoga.
Oh dear God. So I was doing rape yoga this whole time.
Yeah. All this time. Great Netflix documentary about Bikram.
I will have to check that out, man. That is horrible. That changes my whole mind about the whole
The way he teaches is amazing. Like, he went to the US, and there's this whole class of people, and he's constantly bashing them. He's like saying, "You fat fuck, keep your belly in." And they have videotapes of him doing these kind of things. So in the documentary, you see him teach and humiliate people, but people loved it, and they kept coming back. And then he got so big that he could start giving the teacher trainings and stuff. And
no!
Story.
No! That puts doing it in a sauna like in a whole different perspective. Like, it's good for your muscles. Yeah, you rapist motherfucker. That's not true. you just want to see you're a dirty pervert. Oh God, I feel bad about it now. Well, all right, I enjoy doing it, not with him personally, but I enjoyed doing it for a whole while. And then once I got into it, I did it like once or twice. I said I loved it. Muscles felt good, everything like that. Mind switched, and then I didn't have to turn it into a routine, because it was like my mind was already into it in such a way that just added it as part of my life, you know. And if I would have made it into a routine, like I have to go, I'm not going. The same problem I had with jiu-jitsu is like the moment I said to myself, like I have to go because I have to get better, it didn't work. But what worked was thinking that way, like, oh my God, if I don't go right now, that other dude that trains with me is going to get better, and I can't let him get better than me. Or the guy that I competed with is going to be one day ahead of me, and I can't let that happen. And the other part is like I enjoy it too much. It's like it's the enjoyment of it. It's too much. Yeah. But then you came back from Malaysia. Yeah. And you started training again, and immediately an injury.
Yeah, like a tiny injury.
But you're going to be back on your feet soon.
Yeah. I'm already training again, but just taking the rest and being very careful very careful with it.
Yeah, it's the injury is a bitch. How long have you been training in total?
Purely jiu-jitsu, I think a bit more than 4 years.
You're already 4 years. That's great.
Like between 4 and 5 years. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, like every Dutch kid, I did judo as well.
Oh, you started off with judo?
Yeah, when I was like 6, my parents sent me to judo classes, and then with my primary school friends, I did some judo until I was, I think, 9 or 10. And then I stopped playing judo because I got into chess, and I liked chess a lot more. So played chess for a long time. Then when my brother got around the age of 6, 7, my parents sent him to a judo class, and our judo school was every graduation, all the parents and brothers and sisters were invited. So I went to his graduation, and after the graduation, they invited the parents on the mat to do some judo. So then I did judo with the people that were regularly training there, and actually went pretty well, and I enjoyed fighting with them. Then I started thinking, maybe I should pick this up again. I think this was around the age of 16. And then I picked up judo for like 1 year, 2 years. When I was 16, moved to Rotterdam. And in Rotterdam, because I studied in Rotterdam, there was no good judo club there. So luckily, there was another martial arts with a gi. So I thought, this is close enough to judo. Let me try this out.
This is basically the same.
This is basically the same, but just more on the ground. And then I got into touch with Daniel and Erasmus, BJG back then.
Oh yeah, he started at Erasmus.
He started at Erasmus, and that's how I entered my first jiu-jitsu class. So like university brought me here.
And then never ever stopped again.
No, I did stop again because in the beginning I was a big pussy. I got a small injury, and I thought, this is not worth it. Like I have pain in my toe every time I'm training. This is not worth it. I stopped. So then I didn't train for like half year or a year until I really moved to Rotterdam. Like got a place there. And then I thought, okay, now I have to get a different sport. Let me try jiu-jitsu again because it was pretty nice. And then after this 1 year gap, because I was a pussy for pain in my toe, I started training again, and then more gradually the training load increased. Like initially it was 2 times a week, and then started to get 4 times a week, and then during Corona it became every day and twice a day.
Corona did change a lot of people in the way of becoming either stopping it or becoming really serious about it. And do you in a way remember that you went from, okay, I'm going to Rotterdam to study. I wanted to train a little bit more. I'm going to do this progressive overload, and progressive overload is progressively increase of training. How do you remember the switch in your mind that went to like, listen, I'm doing this now for a period that is like 2 times, 3 times a week, and now I'm going consistently to jiu-jitsu because I wanted to compete. Did you always have like a competitive streak in you, or was it more like, I want to compete and what? In other words, what I'm trying to go around to explain is like, what triggered the competitiveness?
I think I've always been highly competitive. When I was younger with judo, I liked going to the tournaments. With chess, you play a tournament every month for sure. Like sometimes multiple times a month, you're every night at a chess club playing games competitively in a competition. With judo, I also tried competitions. So I didn't go to jiu-jitsu. That's your question. Go to jiu-jitsu to start, I didn't train jiu-jitsu to start competing. It was more like, I just like jiu-jitsu a lot. There are competitions. Let me sign up for the competitions and see how it goes.
And that's what hooked you. That's what got you hooked into it.
The
competition.
The competition didn't really get me hooked. The jiu-jitsu itself is really nice. Like if there wouldn't be competitions, I would still be training. But the competition is more like nice on the side. I really enjoy being on the mat, puzzling out positions, being around my friends. Like we're having quite a lot of fun, and that's what hooks me hooked me more, I think.
I think it's the community, right? The community gets you into it, and then
Gets me into it. And then the competition is very nice. Like it gets you to go to places. It's a nice experience. You meet people in a different way. You challenge yourself in an exciting way. That's a very nice aspect as well, but not what hooks me.
Is there any parallel? Because you just mentioned like you competed in chess for a long time, right? And do you still do it or
no? When I went to university, I stopped competing in chess.
Yeah. Is there any parallel in the way that you would choose to train jiu-jitsu and compete in chess or do chess? How and with that, I'm trying to get to the point is like the choices you would make in chess and the foresight you would need and the strategy, let's say it like this. Is that something that you have a parallel in jiu-jitsu, or is it more of a if your goal, let's say I'll have it like this. In sparring, my goal is not to do anything. It's not. I don't have a goal during sparring. I know that's not the best ideal. I just want to. If somebody has a special guard, I want to solve it. That's my goal.
Absolutely.
If somebody has a weird passing system or has something that passes, I want to solve it. That's it. That's the only thing I want to do. Like I don't need to submit anybody. I don't care. I want to solve the thing that they're best at. Yes. I want to beat them at the best thing they can do. And if I neutralize that in my head, I'm like, all right, I got it. My question is, in sparring, if you have a specific goal of finishing the sparring session and you want to beat it by submission, because that is what jiu-jitsu is for, you want to submit somebody in the end. In competition, you want to do the same. Would you approach it in the same way that you would approach strategically a game of chess?
With chess, that's an interesting, good question.
How would you go about it to do a chess game?
Yeah, so with chess, it's a bit different. Of course, you have strong points and weaker points of your opponents. Like some people in chess are very good at attacking, some are very good in defending. Like maybe you have the same in jiu-jitsu, of course. But there is not so clear, like, yeah, he is very good in this kind of guard. There's not such a narrowed down approach. Like someone might be good in a specific opening, but the opening is the first 10 moves, 15 moves, depends a bit how much theory there's for the opening. And after these 15 moves, there's an infinity of possibilities that can happen. So you can't really say, okay, yeah, he's good in the position where his pawns are in this configuration, because the chances that this happens every chess match are just too small, too slim. So in a chess match itself, you don't really go, like in a free match, you don't really go like that. You do have specific chess matches. So you start a position after a certain pawn configuration of in a certain endgame, and then you start playing from there. So that's kind of what you might be what you have in jiu-jitsu as well. That someone might be very good in a rook endgame. You put a rook endgame on the board, and then you start playing with them. But it doesn't really happen in a free chess match. Like there's too much variability to arrive in this rook endgame, and you can force yourself to it, but then your opponent also has to be willing to go there, all that kind of stuff. But the way of training, so that you dissect a match in certain parts, is very well possible. So with chess, you can dissect a match in an opening, and then you have subdivisions in specific openings, or you can look at specific kind of attacking positions, and you can improve there. And that's what you can do with jiu-jitsu as well. That would be more like a very general division. What you have with chess a lot is that you do tactical exercises. So in the Netherlands, Dutch people always, or at least initially it was the Dutch people. I looked it up recently, and now this method has been brought to many countries. It's a stappenmethode, where you have 6 steps, and every step learns you a bit more about the game. So in the first step, you only learn the basic, like you learn how the rook moves, how the knight moves, and that's what you can go through very quickly. And then every book is like 50 pages of exercises, 12 exercises per page. You go through all of them, and you have like a very firm understanding of the basic. And step 2, you learn basic tactical attack. So you learn that you have to defend your pieces. You learn how to fork, how to pin your opponent. You might learn some basic mate patterns, and then gradually the complexity increases. But by making many of these puzzles, you start seeing patterns in your chess games. So, for example, there is a basic mate pattern, and you have done 20 exercises of this. At the moment you see the board, you immediately see, here I can hit this technique. And that's what you have in jiu-jitsu as well, a bit like you are drilling a technique a lot, and then in a match you suddenly think, wait, here I might be able to hit this kind of technique. So that's like a few of the ways you train in jiu-jitsu and how you train in chess, and there's like similarities between them, but still it's not exactly how you can.
It wouldn't be the best to there's similarities in it, but is it a way that is worth thinking about if you're going to approach? The other thing, the reason why I ask this is I'm in a phase in my life right now where I am considering like what was the benefit of me doing jiu-jitsu for so many years. What is the implication of it in the rest of the life, in the rest of the all the little things that I'm doing, you know, like what's the implication of me doing jiu-jitsu if I wake up in the morning to go to work? What is the work that I'm doing? What's the implication of it? What's the benefit? What isn't? How much has it changed my mind in essence, so that what I'm doing doesn't feel like I wasted my time doing athlete stuff? Because society usually brings you in that way, right? Like being an athlete is extremely taxing on your body, is extremely taxing on finances. Let's not lie. It's hard. It's taxing in everything. It's relationships and everything like that, because you are consistently going to go do jiu-jitsu, right? And the relationships you then get are purely based within jiu-jitsu. So the outside world doesn't really get to participate in it in a way, you know? So the question I have is there for you a certain kind of connection with what you already did and in what you're already doing right now? And I took chess, for example, but we could have taken economics in the study you're doing. Like, does it come back to that? And does, in the other way around, would jiu-jitsu make your chess better?
I see.
Now, the pattern configuration stuff you said about is amazing. I mean, if you think about it, like we're drilling actually until we have we recognize the pattern and the reactions of people, and out of that reaction we know what the next step is. And I think the greatest superpower is knowing what comes next in the next 5 seconds. If I would know what happens in the next 5 seconds in my life, unstoppable. Man, you could put me against anybody in the world in jiu-jitsu, man. If I knew what comes in the next 5 seconds, I'd unstoppable.
But in a way, you know that, right? Like you see someone's body language, he's gonna do a shoot now, or he's gonna.
I've trained with very, very smart people for a while, and they have tricked me in ways that I've never expected. And the tricking happened usually in a situation where I was, and I'm purely talking about jiu-jitsu right now, in a situation where I had two choices. And they always made me choose the wrong choice. So I always expected one thing to happen, and then the other choice happened.
So then you also know what's going to happen.
Huh?
Then you also know what's going to happen. You know that the opposite is going to happen from what you think.
Oh yeah, shit. Fuck. It's like the 3-door dilemma, right? Where you go like, behind one of these doors, you're going to win. And the other doors is you being heel hooked or choked out.
Yeah.
And that's what I have. And for a long time training with those people, it was like I've always chosen the wrong door. And I'm sure that if I would go back today with all the knowledge that I have, I'd still choose the wrong door. Because it's so ingrained in them to put you in a position where you pick or choose, and whatever you pick or choose ends up.
That's for sure. And with jiu-jitsu, it's even more tricky because there's like just dilemmas. Like whatever you choose, it would be the wrong choice. If you turn one way, they might take your back. If you turn the other way, they might put you into a triangle. So then you're always screwed in a way. And that's with chess a bit less the case, depending on. Of course, there are positions where any choice you make is bad, but before that happens, there's enough possibility to make the right choices. And it's also with chess at least, easier to predict what's going to happen because you can literally calculate everything. It's less. If you have enough time, in a way, you can calculate the next 4 or 5 moves, and then you see in the future. And if you are fighting an opponent that knows even that calculated the move further, that opponent will probably beat you because he just has more computation power and can see further in the future. And I think that's with jiu-jitsu as well. Quite often, I can expect what's going to happen, or especially if you fight with someone for the second or third time, you know, okay, this is his game, like these are the techniques he will do. But still, because they're so good in doing these techniques, you get caught with it anyway. They beat you, do it anyway. Like there's just no escape out of it. But back to your question, if chess makes you better in jiu-jitsu, I think for sure the way you train with chess might help a lot, because with chess, if you just play games, then you won't improve because you lack this whole pattern recognition part. You of course at some point will stop giving away pieces, but you will never reach a very high level. And that's, I think, the same with jiu-jitsu. If you just do pohara every day, you will improve, but not on the same rate as someone that does very dedicated studying. And with chess, children kind of get forced to do that. Like you have the people that follow chess according to the step method, they're forced to do that. They have the 6 steps they need to work through. They have a coach that tells them, okay, yeah, this week we're going to work on this step. You have your homework. You come back with these kind of exercise that you did. And that's with jiu-jitsu. So the same, like you don't just do pohara, you learn some new techniques. And you start working on incorporating these techniques in your game. Then what really helped me with jiu-jitsu is doing specific sparring. And that's something we added more or less during Corona. Before that we did specific sparring, but less than during Corona, because Corona we have smaller mats, you cannot really go explosive all the time. We worked a lot on the back, and it really paid off. We noticed big differences before and after Corona. And that what you could do with chess, you can put on a certain position on the board, certain end game, and you start playing, and you get a feel for the position. And through getting this feel for the position, you'll of course improve when you finally arrive in this position in a normal chess match. What else can you do? The way you prepare for chess matches is also something I don't think many people do in jiu-jitsu. With chess matches, you have like big databases. You can find games of people online. You can find many of the things they did in the past, and you can just go through them, analyze them with a computer. You can see where they make a mistake constantly. And with chess, it's even easier because you are having a computer. You can literally let a computer compute every position. The computer says, okay, this is a good move, this is a bad move. So you go through it, and you can see, this is kind of the mistake he makes quite often. And then in the preparation, I would predict the first 15-20 moves, and try to set some traps for them. And that's what not many people do with chess, I think. But if you look at high-level coaches, not many people do with jiu-jitsu, but if you look at high-level coaches, they actually go through many of the games of their competitors. They know exactly these are the weaknesses, and they prepare their trainings for that. So
at a high level, they start really creating a camp specifically to the other person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's something you do need to do. Is there not 2 questions that arose? One was that if you're put in a dilemma, you said technical, you still fall for the one that is better technically. Is that the case if you are better tactically? So if the other person is better technically, but you are better tactically,
in chess,
that's a jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu,
yeah. That you will fall for the one that is better technically, or is the one that sets up the game beforehand better, even if they are if you spend more time tactically preparing for the opponent and the other person prepares technically better for you, shouldn't the one that prepares tactically be at more of an advantage?
What do you mean with technically and tactically then? So
Technically would be like if I drill the positions that I need to do,
yeah.
and if I do it tactically, I drill for the possibilities that might arise. So let's say it like this. If I know the other person I'm going to fight with is Paulo Miao.
Yeah.
I know he's going to berimbolo my ass.
Yeah.
I know it. I just know it. And I then prepare not to be better technically, to just be a better person that can defend the berimbolo, but be the better fighter that prepares for all the possible positions that might come from my reactions. So let's say like this, I make a really a detailed plan.
Detailed analysis, like these are the techniques he's gonna hit probably, and you prepare for all these techniques.
And I prepare for all the possibilities that might come. But not in a technical way. I'm just preparing for them like, if he does this, I do that. If he does this, I do that. And this and that. And he's gonna do that. There's no other way. He's going to get his, let's say like in the berimbolo, he's gonna get his De La Riva hook in. He's gonna start inverting. He's gonna start doing it. Because he drilled that a million times. Funny story, by the way. I actually saw videos of him doing like 500 berimbolo entries
in a row.
Yeah,
Shit.
it took forever.
Shit.
No, I fast forward the video, by the way. Because
I think if you're talking about Paulo Miao, it's a funny example. Daniel fought him at Europeans in the gi. And there, of course, we prepared for berimbolos. The weeks before, we specifically worked on seated guard pull and worked on back escapes. So in a way, we did what you're describing now. We see, okay, these are the possibilities that might arise, and we try to prepare for it. But then if you have someone that is such an expert and such a master on this position, then you can't overcome that with a few months, maybe even of drilling. So I think in that case, like it depends on the discrepancy in skill. If there's like if Daniel is good in berimbolos, but compared to Miao is like a master. It's the best in berimbolos. Then you can't overcome that skill level in such a short time period. And that's, I think, the same with chess. Like if you would say that, and again, it's very hard to say this person is very good in this very small area because there's so much variability. If he's really good in that position, you rather avoid the position at all. You don't want to come there. You want to bring him to the position you're good at, and that's I think the smartest way and the most efficient way of preventing it. You don't even have to prepare for all this variability. You know what's going to happen if you're there. You know like some smart ways out, but the best thing would be to pull him into your kind of game. Makes sense?
Annihilate the whole possibility of having to go into that position.
Exactly.
At all.
And then with jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu and chess, that's quite hard because if you have a very skilled opponent, then of course he will pull you into that position. He just like knows thousands of ways to pull you into there. I can easily say, okay, fighting Daniel, I'm not gonna get headlocked, but then you know so many setups to attack the headlock that he'll get headlock anyway.
It's annoying as fuck.
It's annoying as fuck.
Daniel, if you listen to this, you're annoying as hell.
Yeah, you're annoying as fuck.
Beautiful. This is a perfect moment for a really nice segue. I have to whore myself out at this point and talk about sponsors. So I wanted to thank all the sponsors that are helping this, and I will list them very shortly for you. Thank you very much. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hey, I just wanted to tell you guys about the amazing sponsors that are out there helping the cause of bringing you more information about jiu-jitsu, making you think, and maybe helping you out before you go to a competition, that you might listen to this and might calm your nerves a little bit down so that you can you can express yourself better during a fight. So I wanted to thank Browse Fight, and I wanted to thank Apex, and I wanted to let you know that all their information, and all the things that I have about them will be linked in the description below, so you can find out more about them. I love their gear. I love their stuff. It fits perfectly. Browse geese are amazing. They feel awesome. And Apex has some wonderful things, like wonderful shorts and wonderful for rash guards. Also does brows, so it's a little bit of a back and forth, which whose is better. And I guess the more things they give me, the easier it gets to eventually decide in the future who is better. Nah, I'm joking, guys. It's they're both delivering amazing and quality work, and I love both of the people that represent them to death. So it's gonna be great, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. Also, I wanted to let you know that on the 19th of November, there's going to be a seminar with Rainier the Ritter at ATC, brought to you by AGA. If you didn't know, AGA is the team where I train at, where I teach at, that we started to build up with the belief that we can teach you the best of grappling, and grappling is one thing with jiu-jitsu, stand-up, wrestling, the whole thing. So if you're interested, and if you love MMA, and if you want to know how to do amazing stuff by the current light heavyweight world champion and middleweight world champion, and he's fighting out of ONE FC. If you love this kind of stuff, if you love fighting, if you want to gain more knowledge, then hit us up and join us at our seminar. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the podcast. Oos. And we're back. So in the little pause we had, I was trying to get to the essence of what I was asking and seeing how it works. But the chess part is, would that the system that exists to teach chess to people? And I read this in a book, and it was with Marcelo Garcia, so I was mentioning it. Is that and I'll come back to this later, and I'll come back to this 100 times, because I love the idea of, like, how do I get information to stick into somebody's head, you know? Not only do I need communication skills, but I also need to actually be able to communicate something that is of essence. Now, I know what we are trying to communicate to other people is of essence. It's important, and it's good for you in a way, what is good for you. But let's say that jiu-jitsu is good for you in most of the ways. So my fascination is always, how do people retain this information, and why do, if I explain something to somebody, every single human being comes out doing it in their own specific way. But let's get back to the chess question, which is the way of teaching chess not maybe a really good way to also teach how you should start jiu-jitsu?
I think that, again, a very good question.
I'm gonna make it hard on you today. Shit, we're gonna talk about life and death in a minute.
I can go full dinner and talk about life and death in a meaningful way. But anyway, I think that there are definitely things to take from chess to jiu-jitsu in the way that it's being taught. And then personally, I only have experience with the stappenmethode van Cor van Weigeren. But I know there are many different ways of teaching chess, and in Russia they for sure do it in a different way. Russia is one of the best chess countries in the world.
So good at it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it, because else I'll deviate too much. Yeah.
So in the chess method, like I already said before, you start really easy in step 1, and you gradually build up to very complex positions. And it might be hard to transfer, like the very. You can't let someone do. I think at least someone do shrimps and front rolls, which are fundamental things, for like a year. You have to give them something purposeful, but like starting with the basics, I think, is very important. You see it too often, or at least I've seen people that are very good in leg locks. They have a lot of success with that, but they lack everything else. And then that would be, if we make the parallel with chess, it would be starting at step 6, neglecting step 1 to 5 of the books, only knowing how to do a very complex mate, but at the moment that you're passed, you don't know a basic side control escape, and then you'll be screwed. Daniel, for the very good leg locker in grappling industries, the way Daniel played there, he was in loaded position, so like cross-legged. The leg locker couldn't enter him at all. But of course, if you're in loaded position, no space to enter, but you can also not easily pass. You can easily pass because you don't have the legs to keep the sides protected. But the guy didn't know how to take that possibility. He didn't dare to take that possibility. So he was just like sitting in front of Daniel and looking at the referee as if Daniel was stalling, but he himself wasn't taking any initiative. And like that's, I think, the lag that you have to prevent. So I think it's very important to start at the foundation, to, for example, learn escapes a lot, learn positional escapes, submission escapes a lot. But at the same time, if you're only doing that, it might not be that much fun, because you can only do escapes. You never know how to do a submission. So the first 1.5 year, you're stuck in an escape position, and even though it might be very good long term, it's not possible to keep up with it short term. Like not many people are dedicated enough to just escape positions for a long time. So I think you need to kind of merge these things. You need to merge basic foundational escapes, which might be the most important thing in jiu-jitsu, with foundational attacks, and then you can start building up from there to more complex things. And as well, jiu-jitsu might not be, I think if you're getting better in jiu-jitsu, you're not just seeing simple techniques. You start creating a very own style, and you start creating your own kind of technique. You start looking at more concepts. So initially, when a move is explained, you'll be looking at, let's go to a knee slide. If then you would explain it to a beginner, he would probably say, okay, you do this, you get him with your knee, you grab an underhook, you go past, you control the head, make a cross face. But the further you go, the more important the concepts become, and then it becomes like, okay, if you have an underhook, or if you can get this form of control and close a space in this kind of way, then you can start passing. And that might be, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I'm following you.
And that might be
it's my brain went to like visualizing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be a hard thing to get across in a step method kind of form. That makes sense. And everyone, I think, starts developing his own concepts.
Yeah, and it happens quite fast in jiu-jitsu, like this development of your own concept. It's so weird. It's so weird that like there's let's take it for the beginning, because Tu M'Energia from yeah. He had a very interesting question. He said, but if we're teaching principles and basics, what are the principles and basics? Yeah. And like what is it? What is considered a move to be principle or basic? You know. And the other thing is,
did he also have an answer to it?
Huh?
Did he also have like an answer or an idea to what the principle?
Oh no, we got stalled in it because we got into a situation, but he asked me that question, and I was like, yeah, it would be. I came up with the answer, which was the simplest answer that I can do, and that's the answer that one of my teachers gave me in Brazil. And he said something to me that was in, if I would translate it, it's like, all this damn jiu-jitsu is shrimping. And from beginning to end, it's like from white belt to black belt, it's all shrimping. If you shrimp, then you win. And either you shrimp in or you shrimp out, and that's it. And then he left. He left me with all these questions, all this existential angst, and all these things like that that I had at that moment, which was, everything is shrimping. And I was like, well, if the most basic and principal thing you could learn is like to shrimp and stand up.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you get that, then you become really, 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 really good at that. I mean, who's going to hold you down? Yeah. And what other technique isn't possible to be done in that? And my question is coming back to you at the same thing, like what would be a principal move? And if we take the step system from chess as a way of teaching all of this information that we have, Is shrimping truly the best thing ever? Or do you think that there's another basic thing that is more important? Or like the most important part of jiu-jitsu?
First of all, to get back to the shrimping thing from white belt to black belt, there are on YouTube I like these videos a lot. And I think it's called armbar from white to black belt. Yeah. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, but then the guy narrates an armbar, and he narrates how you see it through every belt. And he starts with a very basic armbar from like we all know it, just from the most basic armbar. And then he says, okay, as white belt you might learn to set it up from a close guard, and then slowly says, okay, in blue belt you start seeing it as this kind of control technique, and eventually in black belt you see it in all its complexity, and it gets more complex and more complex. And that's one thing which makes jiu-jitsu very cool, and like probably infinitely you can do it for an infinite amount of time, because constantly the techniques that you know or thought you knew, they keep evolving, and you keep seeing them in a different perspective. And that's probably what your coach is also saying. Like, if we do a shrimp at white belt, and you just go to the other side of the mat without someone on top of you, but at the moment you start seeing that in escapes, then it starts getting into a different perspective. You can start seeing it in attacks, and you can constantly see the technique, the basic foundational technique applied in different kind of ways, and then it becomes more complex and more beautiful. So then back to your question, which was what if there's a different foundational thing like besides shrimping. I wouldn't really know what if I would teach a complete beginner jiu-jitsu. I actually don't think I would start with or I know I don't start with explaining shrimping. I start with explaining techniques, so I learn them how to sit and mount, how to control the mount, how to escape the mount. Same with the back. And at some point from there, they start to distill their own foundational techniques, I feel. And I think we also talked about retaining information. That might be a better way to retain information. If someone tells me shrimping is the most foundational technique, but I don't know how it's the most foundational technique, it will be very hard for me to believe it. But if I get 10 techniques where I suddenly see they all use a shrimp, I think, this shrimp is actually important. And then I figure it out as my own by seeing the pattern in all these different techniques. And then I probably retain it better. So it's a hard thing to start at the basic to find the most basic technique. Definitely learn how to fall break. That's maybe one of the safety first. But yeah, I can't answer that question. So.
It's a difficult one. And I've been stuck on it this whole time as well. It's like what will be the most important thing to teach anybody during jiu-jitsu? And we, as a team, or at least the inspiration I try to put down in our team, which might have gone, there's some things that I have to get better, but I'm proud of taking this decision, is what do you want to teach the person that comes in to do jiu-jitsu?
Exactly.
Fundamentally. Do you want to teach them to do sports jiu-jitsu? Do you want to teach them self-defense? Do you want to teach them confidence? Do you want to teach them community? Do you want to teach them... What is it do you want to teach? And if I take all of that, and I said, I want them all to learn that. I want them to know all of that. And what do I teach them? Well, I guess we're teaching them how to fight. And the only way to do that is having sparring sessions, you know, and putting them in positions that they hate or don't like and dislike, and say, you're comfortable here. Like this horrible pressurized St. kilos or side control, or this horrible position in somebody's mounted on you, and you know it's fight, and we're teaching you how to fight, you know, and it's more working on a mental process of like, don't give up the position and don't give up these things and don't start that, and that we're creating we're doing like, we're creating tough fighters. We're creating tough people, and I'm proud of that.
But do you do that by teaching them foundational and principle moves, or by just putting them in a position, giving them some techniques, and see, okay, yeah, you become tough by actually having tough fights?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to balance it as best as we can, but the focus is still like the focus is on giving them good stuff. I want to give them good techniques to go along with it, of course. But out of all of that, if somebody gives up and somebody doesn't want it anymore, or you see in their mindset that they're like, I can't do it, we want to remove that. For funny reasons, also on our rash guard. That's because I had a hand in it. on the sleeve, on the top of it, it says "Submit your inner bitch."
Nice.
Because
love it.
That's the essence of it, right? That's the essence. I got a little bit hurt.
Goggins inspired.
Huh?
David Goggins inspired.
That was a little bit of David. Maybe I was watching David Goggins at the time, but it was like people were asking me, "What's our slogan?" And I kept hammering. I think yours had his hand in that too, and Fernando as well. I'll turn it to submit your inner bitch. But it does bring the essence of it. Like if people go like during sparring or during a session or something is a little bit hard and somebody walks away to drink water, scientifically, biologically, I know you should be drinking water the whole time or else your performance goes down. That's logical. But it does have an argument if I bring the argument towards mental toughness.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, we don't care if you're thirsty. We don't care if you're tired. You still have at least 10 years ahead of you of all of this if you want to reach black belt.
Yeah.
So that mental toughness part and that part, like we don't give up, be comfortable in this horrible position, be comfortable with the grind that it is to come here to enjoy this and all these things. That grind factor and that mental toughness factor is something that I want to give along. And I think that is the essence of what I want to teach. But now, technically, what is the essence technically that I should give to somebody?
That's also something that's very useful outside of jiu-jitsu. If you can give someone the mental toughness in jiu-jitsu and they can transfer it outside of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
No techniques taken into consideration. It's a very useful thing to have.
I think that is the essence of what I want to bring along or give along to people, you know. But then again, I want to structure it in a way that makes it valuable or at least that they know what they're doing, right? So it's not like we drop you in a shark tank and like swim, survive. Why? Because if you don't swim and don't survive, you're going to turn to food. And maybe but I want to give them also the tools to be able to swim properly, to stay afloat and eventually turn into a shark. and that's I think that's the essence of it. I want to do. But you that's the essence of what I'm trying to teach, you know. And then if we go back to techniques and the methods in which we want to do, you thought up of a method of teaching, right? You have an interesting way. Do you think you could share it with the rest of the world, or is it
share it with the rest of the world?
It's going to be a Checkmat secret.
No, it's not a Checkmat secret. I'd be curious to hear feedback on it as well from other people. But what I think is very important in jiu-jitsu is that you're a strong, independent learner, and going to class, giving all the responsibility away to your coach to prepare the techniques. That's
something I really want to like focus again on. Like the fact that you said that be a strong, independent learner is so important in everything you do. Yeah. So just mark that for everybody that's listening. Be a strong, independent learner. Do homework.
Absolutely.
Do homework in everything you do.
Yeah. And not only in jiu-jitsu, like with anything, I don't really think it's a good thing if people just give all the responsibility away, even though it's a very easy thing and something that people tend to do easily. But anytime that I go to class, I know what I'm going to work on. I have my goals set. I know when the training is a failure, quote unquote, and when it's a success, because I know beforehand, okay, I'm going to try to improve these positions. I'm gonna work on this. What Savage, he is one of my teammates, called Savage, and also actually a Savage, which is a funny coincidence.
His name is Savage?
Yeah, his name is Savage.
That's some savage parents then.
He had some savage parents. Savage is the best, funniest guy in the room.
That'll be the name of my son one day. No, something more like...
You live up to your name. So.
Gorilla, come here.
Yeah. So what we did, we wanted to make people more independent learners, and we recorded techniques of the week in the beginning of the week. Then on the Sunday we put it online.
Yeah,
people could watch it, and they came to the trainings prepared. We divided the training in 3 parts: 30 minutes drilling, 30 minutes specific sparring from the position we would do this week, and 30 minutes of free sparring. So
no more warm-ups, huh?
No, but the drilling is more or less a warm-up.
That's the best way of doing it. Thank you
exactly.
so much for saying it.
Yeah,
I don't want to shrimp ever again, from one point to the other, or butt scoot, or whatever it is, or rolling.
Now I'm purple belt, I can do it as well.
Yeah, there you go. Skip it. Skip warm-ups.
But and then people would come to the class prepared. We gave them extra, so we recorded videos, and we also gave them extra materials they could study. So we gave them matches in which these materials were hit. We would refer them to a YouTube video where it would be explained in a different way. They could ask us questions before going to class, and then you really put the responsibility, or a part of the responsibility, not even all the responsibility, at a part of the student. So the student has to do everything at home. If he doesn't come prepared to training, his training is basically worthless, because there's no technique he knows how to do. And to kind of ease them into it, we would still show it in the beginning of the class, but the idea is to let them come to training prepared. And at training they drill, Savage and me would walk around and answer any questions that people have after the 30 minutes, sit in a circle, see what people run into, and it was a really cool way of experimenting, of teaching classes. Then later, we discovered that Lachlan Gels is doing something similar with his submeta. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that already.
It's very interesting.
Could you explain it?
Yeah, so Lachlan Gels has been working on this online learning platform the past years. And of course he has a lot of YouTube content, and he basically transferred that to an online learning platform, quite similar to the step methods, where he starts with very basic positions, basic escapes, basic mount techniques, and then goes more complex over time. He logs people from his gym, or he connects people from his gym to that system, so everyone has an account to that platform. And after the beginners, they have to go through all the beginners class, of course, and they have to drill that in the class, so everyone is working at something different, if I understand the concept correctly. And then at some point, if you have a strong foundation, he could say, okay, this guy, a butterfly guard fits him well, and he has a butterfly guard section on his course. So he would let the student do the butterfly guard. He's gonna work on that the coming week, for coming month. I'm not sure how long he would do it. Probably in like a similar setup as we did it, like 3 parts: drilling, specific sparring, and then the free sparring. And then you could really tailor the techniques to what someone needs, and they still have their own responsibility of coming to class prepared and doing that. So it's for me a very cool way of improving someone, because that's how I felt I improved a lot during Corona. There were no classes, and you're forced to sit at home, do a lot. You discuss with your teammates. You put together, okay, I'm studying this. What do you get out of this? And then, yeah.
And I also feel that adding technology in that way to it is essential. I reference the fact that if you look before BJJ Fanatics, I trained under Ribeiro.
Mm-hmm.
So we all had to buy the Ribeiro University book, you know, the one that does give a lot of information, you know, but it was a book. And we need to write it down. We need to have it like at hand and like this, because it's too much information. it's too big. I was having one discussion with somebody from with Yuri in one of my podcasts, and he mentioned something amazing. He says all if not most of the jiu-jitsu he learned was from VHS tapes. That's how old he started learning. Like so cool. He's been in long time. He's been in a long time. Like VHS tapes from Eddie Bravo, from Catch Can and stuff like that. That's how he learned, and he's good at it. I mean, if you ask him any position, he'll give a freaking name for it because he learned other names for that stuff. But he will basically know a solution to every single position that there is, you know? And really a brilliant mind to talk to. And he said, like, it'll take you 3 lifetimes to learn this shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too much. It's too much. And even if we have all this BJJ fanatic stuff and all these things like that, it's like, it's too much information. That's why we have to integrate it. So the idea that you guys having of propagating that, like, let's film it, let's give it to people, let's explain the way, it gives it a lot more structure. It's a lot more I think it has to happen.
And a cool thing about that is as well, you can start giving structures to other. So I know in Stark, I'm not sure if you heard of that. It's set up by Dario Provost in Belgium, Stark Gent. He started the gym as a blue belt, and I don't think he gives many classes, but he kind of does it like this. So he doesn't have his, he doesn't have a black belt. He doesn't teach as much classes himself. But if you add this technology in, and you're a black belt, you create this learning platform. You can set up a gym everywhere. They have your learning course, and they can start learning from you via the technology. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it. It becomes kind of an online platform where you can
connect the gym to, and you're coaching from a distance without
that is so smart.
Coach being present.
Oh my god, that is so smart.
Yeah.
Damn, people are smart nowadays.
Yeah,
I always get angry. I'm like, I could have thought about that, but no. But congratulations to him. That is indeed. There is the aspect that I still miss, which is like, what differentiates jiu-jitsu from every single other sport is we spar every single day.
Yeah.
We spar every single training. And I think that the teaching that is there during the sparring is essential.
Absolutely.
It comes, and then you miss out. It's let's take like this. For all the people that are going to comment on this and argue about this, I know that only watching VHS tapes and only watching the BJJ fanatics and like that, that's just a part to help you. It's not the whole thing. You know, it's just a little essence of it. I mean, the whole thing that gets there. And what I wanted to say with the sparring stuff is that if you miss out on that, you're not going to learn as much as you could only reading books and reading.
No, I completely agree with that. If you just watch them and you don't apply it into practice, you don't try to make it part of your game, you're never going to hit it anywhere. You have to spar for it as well. But what do you think should be the balance of like studying VHS tapes and actually sparring? Like, there's probably a balance, probably a sweet spot?
Not 50-50. Not that. That's a really good question. I would say that there should be a greater attention to, but that's me. There should be a greater attention to flow rolling than anything else that you do.
Absolutely.
Than anything other than you do. But also I'm a propagator of that there is something I'm going to touch on, and it's really, really, really obscure, and it's something that fascinates me. So I read the book Miyamoto Musashi, the Book of Five Rings.
Beautiful book.
Amazing book, and I have to make a book list for this podcasts. And
you do.
I've been.
So like podcast notes would be nice, like book recommendations.
Yes, I've been thinking about that stuff and for a long while. I'm gonna ask everybody that I interviewed for now or talked to for now to give me book recommendations. You know, and definitely one on the list would be the Book of Five Rings. The end of the book is the Book of Void, and it's like if I were to explain it without you having reading it in the simplest way, it's it will be like doing the action without necessarily thinking about it or being in a sort of flow state is the best way to do it. But then again, you're completely conscious and knowing what you're doing the whole time. Your body acts naturally, instinctively to a situation, determined, no doubt, but the whole time it's happening, you're present of mind. So it's not like if something falls down and you catch it in the middle of the air and you kind of do it like out of reflex, and then afterwards you go like, whoa, I caught that, I'm getting good at jiu-jitsu. I have those moments. When it happens in front of students, I'm like, hey, this is why I'm a black belt. This is why I'm a black belt. Insane reaction time. It's not that. It goes a little bit further, because it would mean that you would see the object falling, you would react to it, and naturally already have caught it. That moment, that void moment, that moment of being empty and just reactive, but yet completely conscious and presence of mind. I don't want to say it's like mindfulness. I don't think that word justifies this, because you could be in that position or in that moment for a longer time or a longer period than just a certain stretch of your life where you're mindful of it. No, it's a little bit deeper than that, I feel. And that's something that I want to awaken more, or that's something that I want to train more, and that's something that we want to go more. But the only way to getting that is doing the first couple of chapters of the Book of 5 Rings, doing the first 4 rings, which is technique, repetition, fighting, everything like that. And then you're going to be able to do it. So
just to, like, at the moment you would have this example of something falling, you're going to catch it in your... Naturally, you already caught it, but it's not yet in your hand. Then you're in this void.
Then you're in the void moment.
Okay.
That's kind of the situation. That's the best way for me to explain it, but I'm butchering it while trying to explain it like that. The best way of explaining it is, you know how you sometimes flow roll with somebody and then suddenly the timer goes and you go like...
Time already went. Yeah.
Well, timer already went? We did all of that, and you did a bunch of moves, you did a bunch of attacks, you did a bunch of things. You were just flowing in that state. You were present in the state. You were actively attacking. You knew what you were doing, but time seems to slip away. Your mind was completely empty. But you're so keenly aware of every single thing you're doing right there. That thing that I cannot mention, or that I cannot put words to except for. It's a void state. It's a little bit like a flow state, but...
Do you have other things as well? Do you have this state with other domains besides jiu-jitsu as well?
The thing I can get outside of fighting, no. Outside of fighting, I do not have that. Writing, I have that with writing. And I have that, with writing. I have that a lot. Outside of fighting, I don't really have it, and the thing that comes closest to it, but it's wrong. It's not the best way. You know how you're sometimes driving home, and you're home, and you're like, how the fuck did I get here? I mean, I was doing other shit, and then you're like, oh my god, we're almost there. This is the afslag to my house. That. But that's not the correct way of doing it, because my mind was doing a bunch of other shit, and then I got home on automatism, actually. It's that, but then I would have to be present mindfully. And that's the thing that transcends or gives the deeper essence to what we're trying to teach, I think, for me.
Yeah, it can relate a lot, I think.
Yeah? You get those moments too, right?
I get those moments a lot with training... exactly how you describe it. You're not necessarily flow rolling. At the moment you're doing pohada, you can also have the same thing. Like, you're just so in the moment that you can't think of anything else, and everything almost goes fluently, automatically. And the timer goes. You say you have writing. I have a bit with coding. I like to program, and
there you go.
Then you're coding. Suddenly you get a timer, and it's past midnight. It's absolutely not. You have been coding for 5-6 hours without even being conscious of taking such a long time to code, and everything went very smoothly. With snowboarding, I have a similar feeling. You're just flowing off the mountain, present there. I think these would be similar moments like that. There's a book, Deep Work, by Cal Newport.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's talking about the void, and also not sure if I'm talking about the void myself, but like if I hear your description, then like this flow state is the closest I can relate to it. And he gives ways to get into this flow state, and according to him, in this flow state you can get the most things done most effectively in the shortest amount of time. And the optimal state for him is of deep work, focus work, not being distracted by anything, like 4 hours. So he schedules his days in these periods of 4 hours, and that's pretty interesting. Then when he writes about it, he gets a lot done. I think he has a PhD and accompanies some other things.
Man, that's insane. And I know that it sounds like, why would you? It feels like a good use of it, and the state in itself is so amazing to be in. It's enjoyable. It makes work enjoyable, you know. And even if you like doing certain kind of work, to get to the point where you're coding for so long, you know, like in essence, none of us want to do that. All of us want to sit down and watch cartoons and eat a bunch of healthy shit and do other stuff. And I know that but being in that state mostly almost makes everything enjoyable to a certain point.
But you can probably only get into that state if you already enjoy something to begin with.
Yeah. Yes.
Like at the moment, I would be working. I worked at Jumbo as Eierkoek. I'm not sure what's the
Eierkoek?
Eierkoek was the English word, but then I had to constantly put the dough for the Eierkoek on a plate, and that's the most mind-numbing work. And even though it's mind-numbing, you're fully focused on doing that. I couldn't get into a float state. It's just like too boring and too unenjoyable.
Factory work.
Yeah, exactly. It's factory work. So I think you need to enjoy the
what
thing you're doing
to get into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting, and these are the things that I'm truly chasing in a way in life and everything like that. I can put a nice juxtaposition, or not juxtaposition. I can. This is something that is relatable, but then on the whole other side of it, and this then also exemplifies why I try to bring everything together with what I decided to do, and the thing that I decided to do was do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. The other thing I decided to do is be a Christian in a way, and that also required, and that has a really, really interesting little thing, which is in its lore and in its essence, everything we do is kind of a path to heaven, right? So, or a path to hell. You kind of walk that path. But at the beginning of Christianity, right at the beginning, right there, in your own life, in your own experience, you choose. And the choice that you make is like, will I accept Jesus? Will I accept Christianity? Will I accept that? Is that something that I will believe in? Will I accept it? Accepting it means that you start your path off to heaven, and which means also that you leave everything behind you that before that and start walking that path, which will take you in the opposite direction of the path to hell, unless you kind of stop following the rules or stop following that path. It's not so much about rules and something like that. The interesting thing is, the moment you choose, you're giving everything. It's like that. The moment you choose, the rule or the idea is, from that moment on, you're saved. You're going to heaven, no matter what. If you would die the next second, you're in heaven because you made the choice. But and it's given to you. So it doesn't mean that you, and this is the thing, like, it's not a question of like, how many good things have I done compared to how many bad things that I've done. The thing is that you made the choice to do it. And that really turns it around.
That's very interesting.
And then you're going to start, once you start this path, you're going to start paying attention to the rules. Oh, I have to follow the rules exactly and everything like that, or else I'm going to hell. And then the other thing is, if I keep doing the wrong thing consistently, I'm going to go to hell too. So that's, again, it's like if I miss the mark, or if I'm not doing it, if I'm not doing it correctly, then I'm going to go to hell. And then after a while, the longer you stay into it, and you said, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not a question of me following the rules, because then I'm the same person that I was before, and I'm still following the rule set. So it's more of a state of being. Once you choose to do that and you become it, then it's a straight shot. And once you are the person that, which happens to a lot of people, I'm butchering this as well, but I bring it forward like in my mind, and then
I can follow you more or less.
And I can, and I'll make the connection with jiu-jitsu in a moment. Training Jesus in jiu-jitsu and drug deals. That's how we started. That's how this conversation is going right now, ladies and gentlemen. That then comes down to that state of being is then for me in the same way like a flow state. If I keep thinking about it, if I keep my head like, oh, I'm going to do the wrong thing, and I should pay attention to what stuff. Those are things that if I keep thinking about it, I'll then end up going the other direction instead of going to the direction that I wanted, which is the path to heaven, where it's making life better for everybody, for myself and everybody around me. If I go back to jiu-jitsu and the same thing, the more I think about which technique and drills and all these things that I have to do, the more I'm going to get stuck in rules, the more I'm going to get stuck in the positions, the less I'm going to be able to do the flow roll, which ultimately puts me in a state of being or in a state of void, which gives me the best experience. Is this useful for competition? I don't know yet, because I was never able to get in a true flow state in competition. It was very, very, very strategical, very, very step by step. Every single time I competed, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and either I fuck it up and lose, or either I don't fuck it up and I get it right.
When you're competing, do you ever have this, like you are fighting, everything else just goes away except the voice of your coach, and suddenly the match is over, or you hit someone?
Yeah.
Isn't it like very similar to the flow state which you're describing, or still different?
Yes, but I'm so full of there could be why did I say not to competition is because I get very, very anxious if I'm going to go to compete. I'm the kind of person but I need it. I need it. I realize that if I go too calm into a competition, I have a lot of fun, but it doesn't bring me results.
Okay.
I just have fun. Okay. And I'm like, well, this isn't competition, all right? This doesn't convey the danger that I wanted to convey.
Yeah.
In a way. So yeah, you could say it is, but maybe in my deeper self, what I want is to go into a competition, be calm, be happy, be chill, but still have the danger and all that stuff, but not suffer with the anxiety of going to a competition.
Yeah. That makes sense. To go back to what you said about choosing to be a Christian, you're at the moment you say that at the moment you choose, then the path to heaven is straight, right?
Yeah.
So like then can you also not sure if choose to get off that path is the right way. So like people choose to become a Christian, but they might be distracted and go to the path to hell, or that doesn't happen because after the choice, Jesus will help you to walk this path.
Okay, theology and religiousness. That is...
with jiu-jitsu, by the way, it's the same. Like at the moment you decide to be an athlete, but you would injure your leg, your knee like, so badly that you can never do jiu-jitsu anymore. You might become a John Denner that coaches people with hip replacement, so he's still into jiu-jitsu. But many people also stop being the athlete. They let that choice, what it was, that project is over.
Yeah, but that comes then down to our perception to what it actually means to... What does it mean to you? Is doing jiu-jitsu, does that mean to you I have to be an athlete? Do I have to practice it every single day? Or if I just coach it, am I then not only practicing it? Or if I'm there supporting it in any other kind of way, shape or form? And I have a good one. Like one of our students yesterday in competition made food for everybody.
Nice.
And yeah, like little food
Sweet.
packets. Like, oh, that's so amazing, man. Shout out to her, wherever she is now. Hey, shout out to her. Man, she made like food packages for everybody. That's in a way living towards it, living to it, being a good person overall, but also like living the jiu-jitsu life. She didn't have to do it, but she did it. Does that not also count? And then we have it suddenly a spectrum of what it means to be doing jiu-jitsu or fighting and other stuff like that.
And we also have the spectrum then with being a Christian.
Yes, but when in Christianity we also have to add the following problem, which is does the choice even matter? Because if we're talking about a God that is forever, infinite, then we have the following problem. It's like he knows who's going to heaven and to hell. He knows who's made the choice. So we have the thing about predestination. So the choice you made was the choice you were always supposed to make. I wrote it. I'll get back to this, but I wrote a text about this a little while ago and how I connect one to the other. Does it matter if you make the choice, if you're predestined to go either way? All right? And if you start on the path to heaven, which is the path of good, we could say, would you then, if you deviate from that path and go away from that path, weren't you supposed to go that way the whole time? Is there something in a voice and in a message and in a presence that will tell you from like, yeah, you're going the wrong way? I think we all have that. I think that's something we all have. We all agree on certain rules and we all agree on certain kind of things. And like we all agree that IBJJF rules are shit.
Retweet.
So, you know what I'm trying to get at? It's like you also have to factor in the predestination part. Then it comes back down to the thing like we know where we started. So when we know where we started and we know that there's an end. God knows everything that's happening in between, before and after. But we don't, so that's a good enough reason to say that the choice matters. Now, to say if the choice that whatever happens to you in the end was supposed to happen either way, I think that's a too deep of question for me to answer. It's something I struggle with at the same time. Because that would also mean that should I take responsibility for the things that I do because I was meant to do them either way.
Exactly.
You see what the problem is? Yeah. It does, because I don't know for the fact that I don't know what's coming, I'm responsible to take the decision that I'm taking right now. But they were supposed to happen anyway, so what does it matter? You know, no cosmic scheme. I don't know. If I bring it back to jiu-jitsu and I bring back an interesting little point. Paulo Miao made this point and I elaborated a little bit on it, but there's a verse in the Bible that says, it's Psalm 23 and it starts like this: God is my shepherd and I shall not want, which means that there's somebody taking care of me.
Is the verse about the dark valley?
Yeah, that's the one, exactly one. Even if I walk to the valley of shadow, that I shall feel no evil, because his rod and his staff will. Man, I'm good at this. Oh my God! I hope my pastor listens to this stuff, man. I get extra points. See, I'm not all bad.
Jiu-jitsu black belt podcast minister.
Oh shit, that's the one. I should stop saying shit and fuck and that. But there's a little interesting thing. So the Lord is my shepherd and I shall not want, which means there's somebody taking care of me, and I will be not lacking in anything in my life. Now, we prepare to go to competition in the most absurd ways possible. We lose weight, we watch our food, we drive our lives into that direction in a certain way, right? We drill, we go through injury, we go through everything. We go through the mental toughness, the anxiety, the depression of winning, losing, whatever. And we go through all of that. There's a lot we do to get there. Yeah. But the moment we step on the mat, at the end of the day, we don't know. The moment we step on the mat to go fight, it's up in the air. doesn't matter how much you prepare, how much you do, and everything like that. And I like to make like it's a roll of the dice, or it's up to the gods, or it's up to God, and it's up to whatever luck, fortune, fate, favor, and so forth. Because I could be completely unprepared going to a fight that's really good. I could fight Gordon, and this is a shout out to. No, this is a challenge.
Take the match, Gordon.
This is the challenge to Gordon Ryan. If you're listening, fuck you up. No, I'm joking. Probably not. But it's a probability, or it's a possibility that I walk into a match with Gordon Ryan, and the moment we slap hands and bump, he slips up and falls with my rear naked choke completely deep, and he can't get out. It's not a likely possibility, but still one that can happen. So at that point, once you walk into the match and you see your opponent, everybody gets that little feeling like, I don't know if I'm going to win or lose. I guess the void state kind of negates that, because you just are, instead of thinking like what might come. I tried to make the connection. I don't know if it was if I was good at it, but
then, for example, if Gordon Ryan would slip up, then would you say that's a God-given thing? Or it's like meant to, you don't know if meant to happen, just when you say it's up in the air?
Yeah.
What do you mean with that?
Well, the thing is that whatever is going to happen is kind of supposed to happen. And the choice that he made to come and fight, prepare himself, go in there, he could never have prepared for an unforeseeable situation, which is not his choice. And if something happens that is not your choice, then whose choice was it? It wasn't mine. I didn't put anything on the floor for him to slip up. It wasn't the judges. It wasn't the people watching. It wasn't anything. It just happens. It's just a freak accident in a way. And then I'm the kind of person that says, like, I don't believe that there are things like freak accidents.
Okay.
You know, and like in a way it was determined that it should happen like that. I know I get very unpopular if I say this kind of shit, right? Because it has a bunch of implications to it. But, well, this is the kind of way that I see it. Like, everything is kind of planned out. And then once you go into the match, into a fight, it's planned out if you're going to win or lose. Like, you prepare as much as you can, and you prepare yourself in this. And it's, of course, the one that deserves it more. Or, that's also not a way of saying it. I'd say, like, if you go into a match, you might win, you might lose. Right? And because it's such an uncertainty, like how the coin will fall, I think truly that every single match is up in the air. It's gonna happen how it's supposed to happen, in a way.
Yeah, and you have upsets, which kind of prove that point, that it's up in the air. It's not a given thing that the best person always wins.
Oh, you know who has that a lot? Boxers. Boxers have that. They train a lot, but there's always something like a lucky punch.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the thing.
Ryan Hall often makes this point that he says, boxers, they think they're the best, but they, in a way, they have just been lucky 10 times in a row because they 10 times didn't have this lucky punch against them. But then with jiu-jitsu, I feel the luck part is very slim. If a Gordon Ryan goes to ADCC, of course, he could have lost. He could have slipped up. But the chances of him slipping up are also very slim. At the moment, he has a fully locked on rear neck choke. There's not really a chance that he will fuck up. Of course, when you have a white belt on your back, they have a fully locked on rear neck choke, there's a chance that they will fuck up. You might be able to escape it. But at some point of mastery, all the variability and the coincidence is removed, I think. To come back to chess, you have a similar thing. Like, there's a lot of variability, but a person with a Magnus Carlsen who has maybe like 2,800 elo or up, like the best chess player in the world, playing person with a 1,100 rating. There's actually a formula to calculate the probability of the 1,100 person winning, because that's the elo thing. You can calculate these probabilities, but the chances of the 1,100 person winning are close to zero, and that's like Magnus Carlsen wouldn't like, there's no coincidence in that. You can know beforehand, and there's always some form of luck, but I feel with many things the luck is minimal, super. It's close to zero. The more expert you are, the closer to zero it gets.
Yeah.
There's no real freak accidents anymore.
And that's the beauty of why I like the sport, because even the closest point you get to zero, it's still there.
Yeah, no, it will always be there.
It's still there, and that still there is such a major upset. You know, I mean, Felipe Pena beat Gordon 3 times.
Yeah.
And then Gordon beat him. I call it a beating, by the way.
It's a beating.
It's a beating. It's a beating.
Huge beating.
He beat him up, and then he didn't even get the chance to do it again in the another way. To me, it's like it's there, it's done. You know, Gordon would beat him in any other situation, but you don't know. You don't know in like what will be the situation in 2 years, 3 years. Will he get better? Will he get worse? And that's the beauty of it. I think that's the beauty of this whole fighting game, because at the end, I usually play around and say, like, I think the most scariest thing in the world would be jiu-jitsu fighters with a knife.
Knife up the sleeve.
Yeah, it's still the scariest thing in the world.
It happened at ADCC recently, right?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, crazy ass motherfucker. I mean, but did he really pull a knife, or was it the chain in his pocket or something like that? Because that was a thing.
What I heard was a knife. But,
he pulled a knife?
I didn't see footage or anything. I just like heard the story.
Crazy gangster ass motherfucker walks into a jiu-jitsu chat with him.
But why you say the most dangerous thing is a knife? Jiu-jitsu fight with a knife.
Well, imagine somebody at that close quarters with that much control and a pointy weapon. And a pointy weapon. Like if he could, like, that would, I don't know, that would, if he held it in his mouth, that would weaponize him from top to toe.
Yeah, for sure.
I say this because there was also the capoeira has a very, very an old style of capoeira. It does it has I knew this already, but I mentioned it with Tu Menegia in the last podcast. Is they used to fight with like razor blades.
Okay.
But the razor blades they put between their toes. So you know those old razor blades that people the barbers use?
Yes.
You know, they still use it. So if you fold it up, you can actually hold it between your toes. And they would train to hold it between their big toe and their the next toe. Yes. Which I don't think has a name, but
index toe.
The index toe. Which would make the next toe the middle finger toe. Oh God, the toe between the big toe and the middle finger toe. They will hold it there somewhere, right? And they will do capoeira, and it's really damaging because it's just every single kick that kind of hits or slightly hits, because then they start training on glancing blows, will leave a deep fucking gash in people, right?
But that's an illegal thing, I assume, right?
Oh, it used to be. Now they still train it, but they train it with blunt stuff, you know. But still, it's like that used to be like a thing that you just hold the knife between your feet. They still train it because it's still part of the whole thing, right? They used to have one where you have to.
But it's actually a part of the style.
It's actually a part of the style.
Okay.
I traditionally
that's
yes.
Sick.
So that's why I still, because it's a karate. It doesn't do not much more with weapons in competition, but traditionally everything has a weapon in its hands. And that's what I'm thinking, you know, like there's also videos out there of like people fully dressed in samurai stuff in Japan, and then they go fight each other with the swords and everything like that using jiu-jitsu. Yo, it's scary because you'll see a double leg takedown and then somebody pull a knife out of their hand and then just go, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy that this doesn't happen. Dope ass shit. It's amazing. It changes also your complete view. Then you go like, oh, that's why mount is such a strong position. That's why back take is such a strong position. That's why side control is such a strong position. Because if we start calculating weapons into this game, then you go like, oh no.
Yeah. But if you calculate weapons, you would always pick a gun.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu with guns would be weird.
It would be a bit weird, but then you can give like the most...
Pull guard. That's how they do jiu-jitsu in Brazil.
Sadly, yeah.
Oh shit, man.
But then, yeah, that's to some extent. I of course, it's a cool thought experiment, but I feel that the fighting, the jiu-jitsu, and the mount is a strong position, but you can't start incorporating guns or can start incorporating weapons. Because at the moment you start incorporating weapons, you can take the most crazy weapon, and you always will beat any person, any martial arts.
Yeah.
I think that in many cases where a jiu-jitsu fighter fights someone with an untrained person with a knife, that the untrained person with a knife will still win. Like maybe you can dominate them a bit more, but if you're really holding a knife in a strong way and you don't let it go because of some crazy aikido or wrist lock, then you stab someone once, twice, they don't think that's a good thing.
They're not gonna. No, it's bad.
Don't fight on the street.
The guys don't fight on the street. Kids, stop it.
Exactly.
There is one. There's videos about Tim Kennedy, like sheepdog response.
Don't know sheepdog response.
So he has a bunch of videos out where he takes self-defense stuff and he built this whole system. Okay. And I love Tim Kennedy for himself and his stories, right? So everything he does to me, I'm already sympathetic towards it. It might not be the best thing ever, but I already like him because of who he is. He has a bunch of trainings out there that are like fighting people with using this jiu-jitsu, using this close quarter stuff, and then you end up always doing jiu-jitsu actually, with people with guns and fake knives and everything like that, and start checking out what's possible and all the techniques and stuff like that. And you'd see that it really works if you know what you're doing, right? If you don't let somebody unholster their gun completely. And in Brazil, there's also a bunch of videos of like the police there, and not the simple, because we have a bunch of different police. You have like the higher up police, right? So the serious police that really like guerrilla warfare and stuff like that, and city warfare, and they're completely trained into that. They'll throw a gun in the middle of two fighters, right? Of two guys, and say like, let's go. First one with a gun, the first one to shoot the other one wins, and with paintballs or something, But they'll go at it. Once it goes off, right, and it hits somebody, then it's
over.
That's another kind of thing, man. But the amount of similar techniques you'll see, and the amount of basic techniques, a lot more wrestling. A lot more wrestling up. Nothing with the legs. No touching the leg locks and stuff like that.
It would be a bit stupid if you're like attacking a leg and someone points a gun at you.
Shoots at I win.
But I broke your knee.
And that's one of the things. They're not allowed to punch each other, but open hand slaps are allowed. And once you watch that, then you go like, oh my God, there's a lot here that I can teach. There's a lot here that I know how to do. But the moment you put like a gun or something in that middle of that game, like first one to have the gun point shoot, like it brings another level of adrenaline to this game.
And it makes it like, that's one of the things that give adrenaline to jiu-jitsu. You know that you're fighting, and if you don't pay attention, your arm gets broken or you can be put to sleep. The moment you have a gun, it's even indeed more dangerous. You know, if I'm not doing it right, I'll be shot. And of course with a paintball, but you make it as real as possible.
Oh my God, we should start those trainings here.
Will be fun. I will be down for it.
You know what's a good one that I saw Keenan Cornelius do once? With markers. I give you a marker, a blue marker, and I take a red marker, and those represent knives. And then we start doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
and then we see how much it works and how that we would be.
Did he also spar with it? Like, did he show him fighting the guy with the marker and then see if he could beat him?
Yeah.
How did he do?
Oh, horrible.
Like he was stabbed all the time.
Yeah, full of marks.
Yeah,
he said, I started to do jiu-jitsu with the guy with the thing. First he had to do was close distance. That was already horrible. Then after closing distance, he tried to take him to the ground and take the marker away from the guy. And he kept going until the marker was gone. And of course he beat him because it's insanely good. But then he stood up with a white T-shirt, and the whole white T-shirt was like blue.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that's it. This is a nice segue to the following question. Since we are consistently simulating death and breaking and stuff like that in jiu-jitsu, because it's simulation, the only thing that keeps us safe from each other is literally that we respect each other's tap. And it's insane to think that if one person doesn't respect the tap, or, and this is also to me as terrifying, doesn't hear the tap, or doesn't feel the tap, or you're too late. And this happened a bunch of times with me already, where I was unable to tap, and for some reason, like I was trained to not make sound during jiu-jitsu. Like, don't open your mouth. Because in old IBJJF rules, like, you say something, you're disqualified. And we were highly trained in IBJJF rules, so you couldn't talk, you couldn't make noise, and that came from, imagine if you got hit in the balls, if you stopped in IBJJF because of that, then there was a chance that you were disqualified. And that's it's a horrible, dirty, it's crazy. So we would, like, if you got hit in the balls during training, you should continue, no matter the pain.
Daniel always says fighters don't have balls.
They suck them in during training. That's the truth about they have that legend with sumo fighters, right? Sumo fighters do breathing work that makes them able to
to suck in their balls.
To suck in their balls and then fight. Yeah,
no way. It makes sense. Like if you were being pulled up by a string.
I know, and it goes back into your body by training or something like that, or with the underwear or something. They say that. Don't know if it's true. Never checked. But I remember this legend going through my head about this stuff. But yeah, if we are continuously simulating life and death, how do you think about, what is your thought about death? I'm going to jump down in her territory. I finally did it. This whole conversation got to the point where I wanted it to. Yeah, and this is in take into consideration, like, how do you do jiu-jitsu, and it's simulation of death constantly, and that has to have some effect about how you think about it, if you ever stop to think about it.
And then, like, the question is very general. What I think of death, or more, like, this is like a bit more guidance.
Let's say like this. We were talking about, like, if somebody doesn't respect the tap, or you're unable to tap because of a, let's go specific, a choke. Right? Does that thought ever run through your head? And does that make you ever think about, like, oh my God, I could have been dead, or I could have been broken, or something like that? Do you dwell on that thought?
Like, normally it's not really a danger, I think, to actually die, because in the training room there will always be someone that sees, he's out.
Bart isn't moving. Guys, stop it.
Exactly. But one time I was during Corona rolling in the basement, and then I was just rolling there with Lawrence, my friend. He did this.
Just so you know, that if I would cut this piece out during Corona, I was rolling in the basement, and I would send it out into the world. People would go, "What the fuck?"
If you cut out the Corona part, the people already like, "What's this?"
Rolling in the basement. That's weird shit we do. Sorry.
But with Lawrence, he sacrificed his basement to put some mats. Still trainer, awesome. Really grateful for that. And he put a baseball choke on me. I tried to pass, and that's the sneaky thing with these things. Like, at the moment you pass, they actually get on. And then I went to his back, because he turned underneath me, and I went at his back. And then you have this, like, you feel the choke is on, but you think you can handle it, and you can, like, have this extra 2 seconds to strip the grip, stake his back, and actually win the match. But then on his back, I went out, and of course he can't see it. I'm laying on his back, and then you don't really know if there's weight on someone or not. So at some point, he stood up and he threw me off, apparently, and he saw that I wasn't moving. So then that would have been a real scenario that I could have died. But that's also the only time I actually, like, really went out, and it changed the way I look at that a bit, because it was very peaceful. Went unconscious, didn't feel any pain. I woke up thinking that I was in a hospital because the basement is white, and like I just saw the ceiling white. Thought, this is like a hospital or heaven. I'm not sure what it felt. It felt very peaceful. And I went home, and I constantly had a thought, maybe this is how dying feels. And if that's how dying feels, you just like go slowly into a black abyss, and everything is gone. It feels peaceful. That's not all that scary. So that's like one thing that it changed.
Benefits of jiu-jitsu. You don't fear dying anymore.
and if you take it into a larger thing, like this is, you're talking about one training where someone can like not respect the tap, and you get severely injured. But as a jiu-jitsu athlete, you also have quite a limited life. At the moment, you're 35, 40. You might not be. Your body might be done.
I feel fucking old now. Thank you.
I don't know how old you are. You don't look 35.
34.
34. Okay. But if you're an athlete, at some point your body just doesn't work anymore.
Hey, let me tell you something. I got 34 and I'm like, I have to change my game up.
Yeah, and people, you have been living a certain life as an athlete. You have been competing, you have been training, and you have to let that go at some point. And for me, when I think about it, even though I'm quite far removed from that, you still have to prepare for that in a way.
Yeah.
And that's the same I feel with dying. You don't know exactly when you die, but if there's nothing seriously happens before you're 35 or before your average age of death, I think it's 87 now, then you at some point die, and you have to prepare for that in a certain way. And I think jiu-jitsu is then life in like a micro form of life. It's like very, very many parallels between jiu-jitsu and the whole life. So by thinking about, okay, I'm an athlete now at 35, 40, I might be done, then you're finished your first life and you're already prepared for actually dying. It makes any sense. And
it does. Yeah. It does.
And then that makes it for me like quite peaceful in a way. Like, of course, it's not nice to let go, but because it's just inevitable, and with jiu-jitsu, you know it's inevitable. You cannot compete until you, like, of course, there are people that compete when they're 55, 60. But if you want to be a world champion on like a normal and like the adult level, then at some point you're over your expiration date. You have to prepare for that, and then I think that's a great way to also prepare for dying.
You hear that, Cyborg? You're done. Cyborg, you're too old. Nah, I'm joking. Again, I know what you mean, and I love the comparison with like a micro universe. Yeah. And like every 5 minutes you do jiu-jitsu, or every 5 minutes of sparring. It's kind of that, you know. You agree to go into this, in a way, I would say, and then you're just struggle. And if you struggle in the right way, you have it easy. Yeah. And if you struggle in the wrong way, you're gonna have it hard, you know. So that's, again, it's, to me, everything is a little bit of a path to heaven and hell. And I say heaven and hell, and you guys don't need to consider that, but it's a path to a little bit of to a good ending and a bad ending, if Absolutely. It's for a video game.
And then with jiu-jitsu, I think it would be a good ending if you have trained the best you can, you did your best. If you have certain goals and you don't succeed in these goals, but you at least tried, then you can look at your career back in a positive way, I think. And it feels for me the same with, well, on the other hand, if you have certain goals, but you don't work towards them at all, like you just don't show up to trainings, all these kind of things, and then you're done with your competitive career, if you even make it to that age, you think back and probably regret not putting in more effort. And I guess it's the same when you're at the age of dying. At the moment you look back and you have certain goals, you wanted to accomplish things, and you put in the effort to succeed in that. Even if it didn't succeed, you look back in a positive way and you're okay with letting go. Well, the other way around, if you didn't do that and you're the age of 75, 80, and you regret a lot of your things, then dying might be quite scary.
Yeah. It's also
which is then the hell and the heaven path again.
Yeah. If you look back and you enjoyed it, that's the thing, right? You're satisfied. You're satisfied in it. I guess that's the word. You're satisfied. You're satisfied in the training that you did. You're satisfied with the things that you did, and you're like, I did my best. I got better.
Yeah.
Kept working to get better. I'm satisfied in the fact that I kept going. I kept doing it.
How is it for you? How does jiu-jitsu change your perception of that and dying?
I would say, funny enough, the first time I went out, baseball choke.
Classic.
In the gi. And I remember the exact thing that happened. And I was fighting, shout out to Walid. He's in Renaissance in Belgium. Okay. And we started doing jiu-jitsu together. He was a little bit better than me. Just a little
Still
bit.
is?
But no, I caught up to that motherfucker.
Okay.
Hey,
Nice,
listen
nice.
to me. No. Or maybe not. I haven't trained with him for a while. No, but he's also a black belt. Amazing fighter. And I will always... we had a really good training. Although he was like way lighter than me, we were able to really train together because one of the focuses that I had was... He had the focus of being like really technically good. And he brought me into that as well. So I try to rely on my strength and my weight as little as possible.
That's very good.
Which turned me into a guard player. I remember then that I got him in a sweep. And the moment I got him in the sweep, his hand was already all the way in to do the thing. And I didn't know. We just heard about the this was when it just came out that what's it called again? The baseball choke. Well, we saw Majid Haj do it.
Okay.
And knock somebody out.
Sick.
Like years ago. This is years ago.
Do you remember who he choked out?
I think it was Clark Gracie.
Yeah, I remember. I also thought it was Gracie.
Yeah, it was Clark Gracie. Yeah, I think it was Clark Gracie. And he choked out Clark Gracie. And that's the one. And then I think the next week, he did it to me. So that's how long ago I started jiu-jitsu. And he did it to me. And I remember like, this shit doesn't work. And he was turning. And I was like, I'll just catch his arm and armbar him.
Yeah.
And I remember looping the arm, grabbing my own lapel, holding his hip so he wouldn't escape and turn more, putting my knee there and bringing my leg over, and then waking up doing spider guard on my coach. And my coach was like screaming at me, calm down. So what happened? You went out, and then the whole gym, I had the most horrible gym to train at. No, they were awesome. And that was what happened. And I remember at that point that I was quiet for a long time because I was like, that was too easy. That was too easy for me to go out. You know, that was easy to me to go down. But the whole life and death thing with jiu-jitsu, it brings back it just gives me a short reminder of like, oh, I was dead. Oh, I lost an arm. Oh, I think that's how serious sometimes I take the thing, right? When somebody chokes me, like, that was me, gone. Like I'm an extra life now, you know. That's the thing. But my whole view on life and death has, of course, been mutated and changed and brought into a different perspective because of the worldview of being religious.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know. So I know that I was going over there, and in my head, in the back of my mind, was like I wasn't going to a bad place where it was ending, and my story would continue. Yeah. In heaven.
You have like 3 lives: jiu-jitsu, normal, and then heaven.
I know whatever comes that, and it got so bad with jiu-jitsu. I loved it so much. I still do. I still love it so much that I was like, at the end, I was thinking like, I pray a lot. So one of the prayers I had like, is there gonna be jiu-jitsu in heaven? Like, do I want to go there if they don't have sparring? That's how bad it got. And I'm not ashamed to say that I loved it, and I love it so much that was one of the prerequisites I had.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
And and it was a serious thing. I'm not ashamed to say it. Like I was saying, like the things that I love so much on earth, am I going to see them in the future? And I think after that point when I got choked out, I remember clearly thinking, like, everything might black out, and then I might wake up, and I woke up in a daze as if I wasn't like I was really doing like spider guard on my coach because
your coach put the legs up.
Exactly.
You
and
grab the
immediately
shoes.
I grabbed the thing.
Like such an automatic reaction.
Automatically, I grabbed his things and I started doing spider guard, and he was like, "Stop, stop, stop! Let go, let go!" And like, no.
You also see with the MMA fighters that go out, the referee helps them like awake, and they go a single leg, and they start wrestling up. It's just like so automatic.
And then they wake up and they go like, "Where am I?" Yeah. Oof! And I had the same thing, but it took me a little bit longer to like really sort out what was going on in the aspect of like, all right, that might have been it. You know, I actually sat down and forced my thought all the way through. You know, like what then? Then I would have missed all this. And what got me was the fact that I was thinking about all the things that I would miss here. Not as much all the things that I didn't do yet, but mostly all the things that I would miss if I would go to heaven. And the other way around, that I would miss if I would go to hell. You know, and I was like, no, there's jiu-jitsu in hell, definitely. Definitely, there's jiu-jitsu in hell.
But then jiu-jitsu with like Gordon Ryan, who's non-stop smashing you, like non-stop smother tapping.
Oh my no, Roberto Jimenez constantly ripping your
exactly.
your ankle with that insane heel hook. Man, that was a merciless heel hook he gave it. You see it?
I think that yeah.
There was one. There's a video of like somebody. Somebody was in half guard with Roberto Jimenez, and he stood the leg up that was in half guard, so the guy would start doing leg attacks, but his heel was just. It
wasn't like an Emerald Invitational tournament, right?
It was an invitational, I think, but I don't remember.
Yeah. And there was a lot of commotion about it. Like, is it allowed to rip someone so hard? But of course it is. Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, of course it is. But people were, if it's the same thing, I saw people on Instagram commenting like, yeah, this, that, break his knee or end his life.
Is it morally okay is a different question. Or is it ethical? Is it ethical to do it is one thing. Are you allowed to do it? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you can sleep at night, then yeah, sure, do it. But if it, like, should you do it? That's the other thing.
I think so.
Yeah? Like remind me not to compete with you.
It's in a match, you're in a different moral framework. Like, it's not the same as in a training room. You have different moral frameworks, and when you're competing with someone, that probably rips your leg as well.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I would never go as hard as I would go in a like fighting, sparring. I would never go as hard in a competition as I would go in sparring. And
in a training room, like, of course, it's still allowed to rip someone's leg like that, but you just don't do it. Then it's really morally wrong because you just injure someone during a training unnecessarily.
You lose your partner.
You lose your partner. That's not.
No, that's not for it. No. But yeah, I hope I got close to answering the question about life and death in this.
You
I hope. I think about it. It's still a thing in my head. But like, what would it be like?
Do you have an image of heaven? What do you have like an expectation, or is there something in the Bible about how heaven will look like?
Oh yeah, streets of gold and the whole vision that we have on Earth. You know, like the whole depiction we have on Earth does come close to it in a way, like peaceful, serene, satisfied, and everything. The next life. How it's supposed to be, you know. And I think the best person to write about it and put it in the best way is not necessarily the Bible, because the Bible still deals with imagery that is from 5,000 years ago. And somebody that wrote it in a better way is C.S. Lewis. Nice. C.S. Lewis wrote it in a very, very nice way. Like all of Narnia is, by the way, a Christian allegory.
Like heaven, hell.
like all of Narnia, the books are like a allegory. It's like the story of the Bible, basically. And one of the other stories that he wrote is the Magician's Nephew, and that has I won't tell it because I think that's a book worth reading. That does give a very, 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 very good example of what it is. I would read it.
Okay.
It's a really
another
good
book
one.
for the recommendations.
Yes, definitely. That's a really good one. But yeah, man, life and death. We went through a lot of stuff. Now, I see that we've been talking for a really good amount of time, and I will have to. I'm not gonna say cut it short because we talked about a bunch of stuff, but there's 2 questions I have.
Okay.
And we talked a lot about the chess and the studying and the things. And what is the benefit that it has brought you on a larger scale, doing jiu-jitsu in this way? Because you do the study that you did, presumably because you're trying to find work in that area, you enjoy doing it, and financially you want to live off that. And then what aspect does jiu-jitsu have or contribute to your life? Especially also, let's also consider the view of you being a man. What benefit does it have for you to be a man in your life and for the community around it? Because I do believe that everybody has this inherent thing of trying to do something that is good for the greater good.
That's a very difficult
the fucked up question.
Just to correct a little bit, I studied econometrics, but and not necessarily, and right now I don't necessarily want to find something in it. I want to live from jiu-jitsu eventually, like Daniel.
Beautiful, man.
So of course the econometrics is nice. It's always a plan B if for whatever reason jiu-jitsu doesn't work out, there's something to fall back on. But jiu-jitsu brought me a lot, and I want to help other people also get the same happiness.
Then the question changes a little bit.
Okay.
Why, out of all the choices in the world, of the things that you could do with your life, would you say that, this is the one? And I asked this question not to go like to put you on the spot, but it's more of like, how did your choice in doing what you're doing right now would help somebody else find their purpose? Because I do believe that doing what you're doing right now and following up and everything that you're doing is kind of a purpose-driven thing. Like you have like, this is it, motherfucker. I have found it. This tastes amazing, and this is it. And so that's the framework of the question. Let's say it like that. It's like, how did you finding this as being the worldview lifestyle and the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life? How did it become that way? And would you advise anybody else to do it?
That's definitely a yes. Hard yes. So I think that many people let's start with myself. So I have been raised religious as well, and at some point I couldn't really find it didn't fit for me. Like I couldn't understand the theology. Didn't always make sense for me. And when you're religious, there's a lot of structure in your life. You have a community. There's a purpose. You have something to live for because after you die, you'll still have a life. You have someone to worship and to praise. And then when that falls away, there's some form of an abyss. I think that's the right English word. There's not really a structure, not really a purpose, unless you create something yourself. That's how I feel. And many people, I think, don't create a purpose. They are living a life and they don't necessarily know what they live for. They just do their whatever happens to them happens. And then when I started doing jiu-jitsu, initially I didn't see it as that big part of my life. Like I was studying, my plan was to get some job with that, more or less live life like that, not necessarily having a purpose, but you study, you go to the company, you make some money, and then whatever, eventually you die. Then when I was
that was one of my greatest fears as well.
And then when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I suddenly was doing something I really enjoyed. It really, being on the mat gave me a form of happiness, and not in the beginning, but eventually also a big form of purpose. I saw how it structured my life in a better way. I noticed how there was something to live for. And this sounds as if if I was depressed, but that's not the case.
No.
But just the feeling you get from it. And I also noticed with other people how people that are actually depressed and started training jiu-jitsu suddenly healed is maybe the right word, or got out of this depression, got through this depression, because the things they lacked, as in a structure, a meaning, they could find to root jiu-jitsu.
That's a good point you make. Like, something that I also believe in, I looked into. Not an expert, but there's significant...
Sorry, not the next...
I'm not an expert, but there's a significant difference in being... not having a direction into go in and being depressed. Yeah. Like if you have a direction to go in, you can still be depressed, and if you don't have a direction to go in, can be completely fine, you know. So just I like that you mentioned that, which I also highlight in this moment, you know, like if
good to make that nuance. And then probably there are also different forms of depression. I think you have like an existential depression, which is more the people that are depressed because they don't have a direction to go in, and people that are depressed simply, quote unquote, because there is a chemical imbalance in their brain. Anyway, and then started doing jiu-jitsu. Danny was my example. Which is in a way a big coincidence, maybe a freak accident, quote unquote, which don't really happen. He proves that it's possible to, as one of the first persons in the Netherlands, to live from jiu-jitsu, to make a career out of that. And that's very inspiring. And then combined with getting a purpose out of that, seeing how it could bring other people purpose. I thought that's a beautiful thing to strive for, to eventually help people get the same happiness and purpose in their life through the jiu-jitsu. So then that is how jiu-jitsu like kind of changed a lot for me, because I went from studying, not having a big plan in my life, to actually having a plan. To the other part of the question, what it does with me as a man, never really thought about that, but I think one of the things that it really changed, that I got more confident. I've always been quite confident, and never really felt as if I wasn't in any danger. But now, when I'm in a conversation, to some extent, the most extreme thing in a conversation that can happen in a bad conversation is that you go fight. And now, when I'm in a conversation, I know, whatever happens, if it would go to fighting, except when they have a knife or a gun, I'll be able to fuck this person up. So that gives you quite a lot of relaxation and confidence to talking to people.
It lets you say a bunch of shit.
Exactly, it lets you say a bunch of shit. You can just go through life unnerved.
I know.
Yeah, that's great. So I think that with masculinity, that's how my masculinity changed. Like, you get more confident, more relaxed. You know that you can say a bunch of shit without... kind of. We still stay normal. I do get what you're saying, and that is definitely another thing that I want to say is like sitting down, talking on a podcast, having all these questions thrown at you. I mean, that requires a lot of confidence and courage, you know, to sit down and go like, yo, shit, I'm gonna do this. Although we feel nervous, man, you did. It's quite out of my comfort zone, to be honest.
You did insanely good. We talked more than... We're over 2 hours now.
But it's of course not only duration, but also quality. Quote unquote.
Oh, the quality is amazing.
But I don't really enjoy talking a lot myself. So then this is quite out of my comfort zone. But at the same time, with jiu-jitsu, I always try to get into as many uncomfortable positions as possible. So when you offer this, I thought if I practice what I preach, then I also have to sit here and be as uncomfortable as possible.
Hey, you practice the shit out of this preaching. Amazingly done, man. Last question.
Okay.
What's the message you want to bring out to every single person that is listening to this? If there's something that you want to give along to people, it could be anything. I had people say everything already. From short answers to long answers to recommendations to nothing.
I would give a recap. So if you like the whole podcast was too long, then listen this. First of all, if you're good in economics, you can become a drug dealer.
Go on.
Then if you're afraid of dying, be choked by a baseball choke. The fear will definitely lessen. If you're afraid of dying, see a jiu-jitsu career as like a preparation for dying, and you're going through this anyway, and you can do it. You look back, you know when you're happy you have a jiu-jitsu career, and you can do the same thing in your life. Then also but that's like a doesn't really count, because many people that are listening to this, they already do jiu-jitsu. But if you don't do jiu-jitsu, definitely do it. And maybe more to the people that do jiu-jitsu as beginners, the first few months are definitely tough, but at the moment you go through that, you will for sure get a lot out of it. Like, it changes your life for the better 100%, and you get more happiness, more purpose, more structure. That's something I think we should all strive for.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. And I want to highlight that making the choice to make this your lifestyle and build it up and create it is it's very courageous. It's amazing, because I love the sport, and I do believe that even if you don't follow it to be your lifestyle, because there's other things you can do and have to do, it is still one of the best tools out there for life itself. It's one of the best tools for life. It's not a tool for how to get through depression, how to get to this, or how to do that, or it's a tool that is life, combat, opposition, and consequence dealing with that there is. It's a very complete and very good tool.
It's like a Swiss knife.
It's like a Swiss knife.
Do anything
with arm bars and footlocks and guns and shit. Cool. Bart, thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much.
And I loved having you. And guys, if you love this, please give Bart a follow. I will link all the stuff that is related to Bart in the biography.